to the thousands and thousands and wait, hang on, 17 people currently watching online. Welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. I'm Ted Glover, your humble host. As usual, we got our partners in crime, the Grand Poobah, numero uno head blogger of the Vikings SB Nation website, the Daily Norseman, Christopher Gates. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing all right, Ted, and 17 is almost 1,000.
That's right.
That was pretty sweet. Yeah.
And my normal running mate on Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, Drew Bunning. Drew, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. It's great to be here with two knowledgeable football minds. Haven't seen you guys in a week. I'm looking forward to a big show now. We got a lot to cover tonight. It's great to be here. Hey, thanks for having me back on.
Hey, thanks for being here and being on time and running this everything behind the scene. Ruby Bunning, she's got doing all the production magic. Folks, we got a big show. Can't wait to get to it. Just a couple of housekeeping things to take care of. Remember, we're going live. We're calling it August Palooza. I just made that up right now. That's what we're calling it.
Excellent.
We're going to be live tonight. We're going to be live next Thursday at 7. We're going to be live Saturday the 27th at 7 for our live watch party for the final preseason game of the year. And then our final live show will be August 31st. Vikings have their final cut down to 53 players on the 30th. We'll be on the 31st to talk that. And then we will be back in studio in time for our week 1 show for the Vikings week 1 game against Green Bay at home on September 11th. That show, our studio show, will air September 9th. Tonight,
yes,
we got a cool giveaway. You want to show people what we got to give away, Drew?
We're not giving away this one because this one got busted. we got the shipment of cups in.
We got the swag, baby.
The son of a bitch just broke a bunch of them, so we had to. Toots has got on there and threatened lawsuits, and they're sending 900 cups now. But these are our new.
Bitches broke my cup.
The newest swag is the Vikings Report mug right here, and we are going to give one away tonight. And we're looking forward to doing that tonight.
So Chris is familiar with this. When we move in the military, we move every 2-3 years, and TMO is the acronym of the folks that move your stuff from one place to another, whether it's from stateside move to overseas or wherever. And TMO generally breaks or loses anywhere from 40 to 67% of your stuff every single move. So we're fully familiar with broken cups and mugs. And we lost 40%. It's like the army. It's like the army shipped those cups. It's awesome.
That's just about right, man.
My FedEx guy is a Packers fan, big Packers fan. So we're always jousting back and forth. And he walks up and I go, "Oh, there are my mugs." And the thing's jingling because the broken mugs inside. I go, "There's the Viking mugs." And he smirks at me and he goes, "Yeah, there you go." And I'm thinking, "Oh, shit."
All right. So we're giving away one of those cups. Again, just like every prize giveaway we have on a live show, just make a comment in the live chat. Ruby will enter your name. And before we sign off for the night, she'll spin the electronic wheel to determine a winner. We'll get that out to you. Hopefully it doesn't break. We are also running our Rook Dog Challenge. We've been doing this with our studio show. Basically, all we want you to do to enter, you can win a $100 gift certificate from NFLshop.com. So let us know who you think the NFL Offensive and Rookie of the Year and the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year are going to be. You can put it in the comments here in the live chat, or you can put it in the comments below if you missed the live show. As long as your entry is in by the NFL Thursday night kickoff game of September 8th, the week 1 regular season game, you will be entered. So again, let us know who the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year is, the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year is, and you can only enter one time. Once you've made your selected your 2 names, that's it. A lot of people are waiting, I think, just to make sure everybody makes through training camp, because if your selection gets hurt, you can't change your pick. So
you cannot. No changing of the picks. Whoever you pick, that's what I ledger in, and that's what you're stuck with. So, I think a lot of people are waiting to get through the preseason.
Yeah, so
the preseason game.
So that's how you enter. Go ahead and play. Drew, you got anything else about the Rook Dog Challenge?
I didn't know that this guy was on the $100 bill. I thought it was Andrew Jackson.
No, it's what they call it the Benjamins. What? Come on.
Who's on the 20?
Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson.
No, Peter Gammons is on the 20. Who's on the 50?
Your mom.
Oh, I knew it.
She's
The Rook Dog Challenge.
She's on several 50s from what I hear. Let's hear it over there.
You guys are killing me, man. Kind of open the door on that one. Kind of open the door on that one. The Rook Dog Challenge. Rookie of the year. It's easy. There's a lot of rookies to choose from. You know, we're gonna get our picks tonight. Let me get your guys' picks.
Chris, go ahead.
All right, you want to do offense first or defense?
You guys can't win, by the way. This is just for picking. We're not allowed to win, otherwise we look like a mafia-run organization.
Yeah, even more so. But offensive rookie of the year. I'm going to say that just because every award is so slanted toward quarterbacks, I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh. It's going to be one of those things where if he's not a complete disaster, he's probably going to be the favorite for the award. There's plenty of other guys out there as well, but he's my pick. Defensive rookie of the year. I'm going to go with Kayvon Thibodeau from the Giants. I think he's going to. Trayvon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson are getting a lot of the early hype, but I think he's going to end up being better than either of them this season, just because the Giants really don't have anyone else on the pass rush, and he's expected to provide that for them. So those are my picks.
See, folks, this is how you do it. We're doing this as an example of how you pick the Rook Dog Challenge winners. Ted, what do you got?
You're gonna be very surprised of my offensive pick. I'm going wide receiver. And I'm going Chris Olave. Yeah, I'm going. That's right.
You know what? I knew it before you even said it. Homer.
I was going to pick Kenny Pickett, but I don't think he's going to start right away. Now, I think Mitch Trubisky is the guy in Pittsburgh. I don't know that Pickett will play early enough to pile enough stats up to be rookie of the year, but he's not a bad choice. If he starts early, that's a very good pick. But I'm going with Olave. On defense, Drew, you're going to like this pick. I'm going with Aiden Hutchinson for the Detroit Lions.
Hopefully he doesn't do anything against us, but he's going to have a good year.
I think so.
That's a good pick. Good pick.
Who would you get, Drew?
I'm taking the same defensive player as you, Hutchinson. Hutchinson's going to be the rookie of the year for the defense. And I got the offensive rookie of the year. If you guys you viewers out there want to copy my picks, because I'm not allowed to win, but you are allowed to win. If you want to copy the winning picks, then listen closely. Defense is Aiden Hutchinson. Offensive rookie.
Homer.
My mom's on the 50? Oh my God. Offensive rookie of the year, running back Breece Hall of the Jets.
Ooh.
There's your rookie of the year.
Oh, that's interesting.
Thanks.
So Breece Hall, Aiden Hutchinson. We got your guys' picks. That's just an example of how you do it. Yep. Get signed up. Win $100, man. It's free to enter.
Get your picks in as long as you have them in by the kickoff of the Thursday night opener. You're set. So that's the Rook Dog Challenge. Go ahead, Drew.
We like to give things away, Ted, to give back to our viewers. That's what we do on this show. We give back.
That's right.
Give back to our viewers.
That's what she said.
That's we got an hour. Let's pound it hard for an hour.
All right. That's also what she said. So here we go. We'll start with last Saturday's, whatever it was. The Vikings opened the preseason in Las Vegas against your Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
They went in with every intention to avenge Super Bowl 11. That did not happen. They lost 26-20. Does anybody care about the final score of a preseason football game?
Absolutely not.
Like, not even if it was like 40-0 Raiders, would you have cared then?
I looked at the score like twice during the game on the screen. They have it on the screen.
No.
I think I looked at it twice. The score is.
So if the score doesn't matter, so if this is like whose line is it anyways, where everything's made up and none of the points matter. What, Chris, do you look for when you're watching a preseason football game then?
Hey, you just kind of look for, people that stand out over the course of like individual plays, whether it's younger guys, older guys that are fighting for roster spots. We saw quite a bit of that, or at least from a few guys from the Vikings on Sunday. But yeah, that's the important thing, whether or not guys are grasping the offense. The defense is running a brand new scheme. You want to see how guys are fitting in with that. But those are the primary things you're concerned with watching a preseason game, I think.
So when we were talking about what we're currently talking about today, I asked you guys to pick some winners and losers. And Drew, before I get to you, let me finish up with Chris. You got to give me a couple guys you thought were either winners or really improved their stock to make the roster. So maybe some down roster guys, and a couple guys that I don't want to say losers, but didn't do themselves any favors last weekend.
I think the obvious ones are both of the backup running backs in Kenne Nwangwu and Ty Chandler. They were both tearing off huge gains. Chandler had a huge kickoff return that helped spark the Vikings' first touchdown. And, we've mentioned this before, but next year, Dalvin Cook's cap hit goes up to $14 million. And Alexander Madison, he's in his last year. He might not be on the team next year. So those are guys that the Vikings could be looking to build around for the long term. So seeing both of them kind of do some good things on Sunday was nice. I know we all talked about Jalen Twyman going into the game. I thought he did a solid job. Those are the guys that stood out to me right off the top of my head that I could think of.
Drew, so what do you look for when you watch a preseason game? And give me a couple guys you thought stood out or it didn't do so well.
I don't understand all that. After the preseason game, you guys are kind of tied into Twitter and all the social media, and you're hearing a lot of gloom. And I don't get all that. I think the Vikings. I mean, come on, man. I think the Vikings got out of this game exactly what you need to get out of this game.
I would agree. Yeah.
The two things I look for, and I don't know if anybody wants to agree with me on it, but you look to see if guys are in position, if guys are confused. I mean, let's face it, this 3-4 thing is a huge deal. Mm-hmm. It's a big undertaking. And hats off to Ed Donatel for trying to figure this out. I mean, if the Vikings have any success down the road, it's because you got to give a big slice of the pie to Donatel. You do. I look at guys that are in position, if they know what they're doing. I mean, there's a lot to learning this 3-4. 3-4 is a complex defense. You don't just walk out on the field and you're Dick LeBeau's 3-4 from the Steelers.
So who are the guys that impressed you then?
I would say I'm right along the lines with Chris.
Okay.
The running backs. I mean, you got to find out the other thing you want to find out is your depth. You want to find out where you're going at every position. Who's your backup here? Who's number 3? Whatever. I think the Vikings did a great job of figuring that out. And the running backs and wide receivers. I think they did a good job figuring out the snap counts, how much each guy's going to play. And I would say the running backs figuring that out.
Who else? Give me somebody else.
Ty Chandler is really good.
Yeah.
And I would have to say, Cameron Bynum and how the safeties worked out. Lewis Seen looked pretty aggressive. So
yeah, Seen was okay. So yeah, we got the running backs. Here's a guy, Ed Ingram. I thought played well, and we're going to talk about him when we get to the 49ers. He's moving on up to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky.
There we go.
Brian Asamoah flashed. But I want to talk about one Kellen Mond. When the season ended, Kellen Mond seemed unfit for professional football. To hear the former coaching staff talk about him late in the season, what little action we saw. And I think this game was a big step for Mond to establish himself as an NFL quality quarterback. Do you agree with that assessment, Drew? And if you do you think he passed that and is on his way to becoming a backup?
I do. The thing that sucks about Mond is that last year got wasted for him.
It did.
So this year is basically last year. He still needs a year to develop. He still needs next year's off season. And that's basically on the staff from last year that he's a year behind. But how you look at the quarterback situation and probably the other guys on the roster is we need you to progress this far after preseason 1, the practices and the preseason 2 game. And I think he did. He checked all the boxes for what he needed to do week 1. I do.
Okay.
I do. I think he progressed. He's got a long way to go. And my thoughts on Mond, we can go on and on about it, but I watched him at Texas A&M. He wasn't my favorite quarterback through college because I thought he should be further along than what he is. But then he had that Reese's Senior Bowl when he was MVP, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he flashed in that Reese's Senior Bowl. So I was kind of having a different thought about it, going, let's see what this guy's got. And then last year gets wasted, which sucks for him. I think he did really well. I think he did. I think he's still slow on the progression, so you can see that he's learning as he goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty happy with what he did.
Chris, what are your thoughts on Mond's performance? And are we being goofy and dumb if we want to give him a grade on this game or not?
I think he might want to. I mean, you could probably give him a decent grade on this one. I mean, he didn't start out great. I think he started out like 4 out of 9 or something like that in the first half or the limited amount of time he got at the end of the first half and the start of the second half. But as the game went on, it looked like his confidence was starting to increase a little bit. He had a couple of nice touchdown throws to Albert Wilson. They were both really, really nice throws, I thought. But, we said going into the Raiders game that the Vikings need to give Mond every opportunity to win the backup job because we know that Sean Mannion just isn't it. And he got the opportunity to do that. And I think he's at least started to acquit himself in a much stronger fashion than he had reportedly in camp going into the Raiders game. So he's progressing, like Drew said, after one preseason game. Has he hit the marks that the coaching staff wanted him to hit? I mean, I'd like to think that he has, but I don't know for sure. And he's going to have 2 more games to continue to progress.
Okay. So we've got the good, and we'll talk about the wide receivers because I thought several wide receivers played well. And that just kind of led up to leading up to this week with the joint practices and everything else and the depth at the back end of that. But let's kind of flip the coin now. Drew, who are a couple guys, or give me a name that you thought really didn't do a lot to bolster their chances to make this 53-man roster?
Can I touch on one more thing with Mond?
Sure.
Or am I breaking protocol for the show?
No, go ahead.
I would like to say this. When he got pulled in the third quarter and they brought the other guy in there, I didn't agree with that move. If you watch, a lot of times when you look at Mond, he looks, kind of uncertain of what he wants to do. He looks a little slow back there, like he's worried about it or whatever. I want you guys after this show to go watch that touchdown pass on that slant pattern to Albert Wilson, the first touchdown.
Yes.
He got the snap. He was very decisive, and he fired that ball in there. It was a perfect pass. The whole play in itself, if you watch it 2 or 3 times, it's different than the other plays he had.
I would agree. Yes.
That is that is the guy we're working towards. We may only be at step 4 out of 10, but that play is what we need out of that. That was it right there. That is what you want out of that. That's a beautiful play, and he threw it with confidence, and then they pulled him. And I was thinking, you can't pull him right there. He's got a bunch of confidence. Let's let him roll. You want to figure out what he's all about. So I was kind of angry about that he brought Mannion back in. I know the book says we got to get Mannion in there. We got to get Mannion back in. And no, I talked with David Stefano over at CTP about this, and he said, well, they wanted to get Mannion back in there with the same personnel because that's what the book tells you to do.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell got the book. It's this personnel with Mond. I got to get Mannion back in there. I got to get him in there with the same personnel so I could decipher it. No. Sometimes you throw the book out the window and go with what's Mond needed to keep playing right there. He had ultimate confidence.
I would agree.
He needed to keep playing and he got yanked and then the other guy came back in there. So I just want to say I was kind of angry about that move. I don't see why you'd bring Mannion back in at that point.
To his credit, when Mannion has no business being on an NFL roster. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. But to Mond's credit, when they pulled him after that touchdown drive, put Mannion back in, then put Mond back in, he went down and the Vikings scored another touchdown on another very nice pass to, I believe it was Albert Wilson.
Yeah, they were both to Wilson.
Okay, they were both TD passes were to Wilson. Okay, so I thought that showed I don't want to say it, maybe not maturity. I'm not sure what the word is, but it showed
Absolutely.
a guy that stayed in the game, was able to come back in and still play well. And everybody was bagging on him at the end of the first half when he made a great play to scramble out of the pocket, and then he kind of airmailed a throw. But after that, I thought he settled down and had a very good second half.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
And I think someone said on that play you were talking about where he scrambled around quite a bit, he realized that, I believe it was Tristan Jackson, had actually stepped out of the end zone on the play. And it looked like he was originally going to go for him, but because Jackson stepped out of the end zone, he couldn't go there. And he wasn't sure if he had anywhere else to go. That was what I saw on the social medias for why that play developed the way it did. But it was still a hell of a play by Mond, I thought.
Ted, I just wanted to say something because it was like he had a bunch of confidence on that slant route that he threw. That's how you develop a guy.
Yes.
You develop him not only fundamentally, but mentally. They should have left him in. Who cares about Mannion? You don't need to bring him back in. I know Kevin O'Connell was just following the book of instructions. This is what I need to do. You don't need to bring him back in. We know what we got with Mannion. You should have left him in there to play the rest of the game and develop him more, get his confidence going. I didn't mean to hijack the topic there, but I just wanted to point that out. I think
that's a good point.
It's kind of a shitty move. I didn't understand it.
But now give me a guy who you thought might have hurt himself, Drew.
Well, the guys that don't play. I mean, Hennigan didn't play and he got cut.
Well, yeah, but give me a guy that played that didn't do well.
I didn't like the tackling all the way around. I even though I thought Dye played well, I thought he had some really missed coverages with running backs, but he did end up leading the team in tackles. I don't know. Nobody really stood out as being, whoever was on the field at the extra man on the field that gave the Raiders an extra first down. Probably that guy.
On the punt. Yeah, that was Perry Nickerson. I thought he had a terrible game. I'm surprised he's still on the team, to be honest.
Probably Mannion. That guy's terrible.
He did not have a good game.
That's probably my vote. That guy.
Chris, what about you?
I mean, Mannion, obviously, I think Mond should be the clear QB2 at this point if they don't go out and get somebody else to sit behind Cousins and make him QB3 for another season. I know Drew touched on Troy Dye a little bit. I just thought Dye was out of position a lot. I mean, I know he had quite a few tackles, but just seemed like he was always chasing guys down rather than stopping them and whatnot. Josh Metellus had kind of a rough game. He gave up a lot of yardage, a lot of big catches. I think he did enough on special teams where his spot on the roster isn't necessarily in danger, but I don't think he helped himself a heck of a lot on Sunday. But yeah, those are the guys that kind of stand out to me.
For me, Wyatt Davis and Chaz Surratt didn't play well at all. When they were
Chaz Surratt, man, that guy missed a lot of tackles.
And yeah, he missed like 2 or 3, I think, right in a row on one drive. It was just, going back to those 3rd round picks from last year, it looks like Mond might be turning around. Surratt looks to be a bust. Wyatt Davis looks to be a bust. Patrick Jones II, I thought, had a real good game. He brought a fair amount of pressure every time he was in.
Him and Wanham.
Yeah. So we moved from that, and then the Vikings had their first round of cuts. Drew, you mentioned Thomas Hennigan, who will need to begin again somewhere else with the Vikings because he's gone. A couple guys that were waived, fullback Jake Vargas and linebacker Andre Mincy. Guys that were waived with an injury, defensive lineman Tyree Stevenson and Hennigan. And then vested vet whose contract was terminated can immediately become a unrestricted free agent. Corner Ty Smith. Any surprises for you on that list, Chris?
No, not really. I mean, I think Stevenson got hurt toward the end of the game on Sunday. I'm not sure what the nature of the injury was, but he looked like he had a play where he was slow to get up. So yeah, with Hennigan and Stevenson being waived with injury designations, I believe they both made it through waivers unclaimed, so they are now both on the Vikings injured reserve list.
Okay,
and their season is over unless they come to some sort of injury settlement down the track that allows them to move on. But no huge surprises. I mean, the Vikings ran 51 plays on Sunday. You know how many times they lined up with a fullback?
Once or twice,
3.
I thought. Was it 3?
Yeah,
okay.
3. CJ Ham played 1 snap and Vargas played 2. So seeing Vargas get cut was not surprising. I think they have more of a role for Ham than just being just a regular lineup in the I formation type fullback, but we'll see. But yeah, no real surprises as far as I could see.
One of the things that came out of that game is how well the guys, the wide receivers, sort of at the back end of the roster, all of them for the most part played. We know the top end is Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and KJ Osborne. After that, you have just this absolute traffic jam of guys in Amir Smith-Marset, Tristan Jackson, Jalen Naylor, BC Johnson, Albert Wilson, and I think I might even be missing a guy. There are if you consider JJ Thielen, Osborne, and Amir Smith-Marset fairly rock solid locks, which I think that's a fair thing to say. And if the Vikings go with 6 wide receivers, that means there's 2 spots for 4 guys.
Right.
How do you determine? Because the only guy that really hasn't played well is BC Johnson, but I think the Vikings have him sort of as WR 5 or 6, just based on his experience as a veteran. Drew, who do you like out of those guys, those to pick those last 2 spots?
I think, Tristan Jackson, you know how I feel about him. I've been pulling for him the last month or so.
You have.
I'm really that guy. When McCardell gets a hold of that guy, he is going to be a great player. I'm telling you. So Tristan Jackson, I don't know. The other one's up for grabs. I think it's going to be figured out over the course of the next 15 days, whatever they have the next 2 preseason games.
But you think you're gonna lock Tristan Jackson into one of those 2 spots?
I would. Yes.
Okay. Alrighty.
I mean, Albert Wilson caught a couple touchdowns, but
yeah,
I mean, he helped his cause, but I don't know if that's gonna.
Myron Mitchell is the other guy I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So Chris, who do you like out of that? Tristan Jackson, Jalen Naylor, BC Johnson, Albert Wilson, or Myron Mitchell?
I mean, I do like Tristan Jackson. I think he did himself pretty well on Sunday. Had several nice catches. And Drew talked about Keenan McCardell. Apparently, if we remember back to April, McCardell personally advocated for the Jalen Naylor pick.
Right.
So if his thoughts and opinions on things carry any weight, then I think you'd have to pencil Naylor into that wide receiver 6 spot. So if you're counting them, or if you're planning on them keeping 6 wide receivers, yeah, it's your top 4 that seem to be locked in, and Jackson and Naylor at this point would be my picks. I think BC Johnson is just a guy you can probably pick up later on in the offseason if you need to.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I like Jackson and Jalen Naylor. My fear is if they try and go and Albert Wilson and Myron Mitchell have not done anything to hurt their chances. I just think there's finally this depth of talent at the wide receiver position that we haven't seen in several years. I mean, gone are the Dan Beebes of the world. And I would like to think that if they go with
his name, Dan Beebe? Was that his name?
Chad Beebe.
Whatever.
Did I say Dan Beebe? Whatever. Chad Beebe, whatever. Don Beebe, whatever. If they get rid of those guys, I would think they have a better shot of bringing Wilson and Mitchell back on to the practice squad than they would Tristan Jackson and Jalen Naylor. But that's just kind of my crazy speculation.
No, that totally makes sense.
That does make sense.
So yeah, those are the 6 guys I'm going with as well.
You guys make a lot of sense. I learn a lot from you every time I'm on the show.
And Reggie Adams said, yeah, Naylor also returned kicks. Amir Smith-Marset was a kick returner. I think they had Chris. I can't remember that. They had one of these guys returning punts too. Who was
Smith-Marset was back there returning punts a couple of times on Sunday. It kind of looked like the D.D. Westbrook saga for parts of it, but then I had it. That's not meant to be a positive thing because that was a little bit of an adventure last year. But like we said, they got a bunch of guys with no punt return experience. So somebody has to do it at some point. And, if you think you can get one of the young guys to learn how to do it and figure it out, have them do it. Why not?
Do you guys think Kevin O'Connell's just going, whatever we get with the punt returns is fine. I'm not worried. You know what? I'd like to have some at least a chance at punt returner. We haven't had that since Marcus Sherrill's left. I mean, punt returner looks weak.
I think they're just trying to find a guy that can field the ball and not fumble it. I mean, they haven't even had that the last couple of years.
But Ted, find a guy that can field the ball and not fumble is different than find a guy that can maybe score. I mean,
yeah, you're right, but you gotta walk before you can run, though.
Well, start running. I mean, go out. I'd be willing to look at the free agent wire to try to get somebody in there that can at least be a threat. You got to have a threat back there at some point.
Okay, if you do that though, and I could get on board with that, but then you're going to have to let go of one of either Tristan Jackson or Jalen Naylor, or maybe a cornerback.
That's a good point.
And is that guy worth sacrificing one of those two wide receivers or potentially one of your defensive backs?
Well, he is if he runs it back for a touchdown. I don't know. That's a good point. But I'm sick of just having no threat at punt return. Oh, hopefully he'll get a fair catch or return it for 3 yards. I want a guy that can. Man, I miss Sherrill's, man. That guy, awesome. That guy was awesome.
I mean, but Patrick Peterson has punt returning experience.
No, he's not. Not anymore. He doesn't.
No, they're not going to put him back there. I'm just saying, if they wanted to, they're going
to put Ted Glover back there before they put him back there.
Well, and look, you just said you want somebody that can score a touchdown. I couldn't even catch a damn football at my age.
Did you ever return a punt in your football days, Ted?
Oh, like in Pee Wee, yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
So coming out of that game, is there any position that concerns you, Drew? Or position group?
You know, I'm kind of anti-gloom with the people at social media that are freaking out. I think the Vikings are coming along fine. And I'm not seeing a position group that stands out to me as being an automatic weak spot. I'm not.
Okay. On either side of the ball.
No, I'm not. I'm not. Maybe kind of slightly tight end, but I know Irv Smith's going to be back and it's going to be fine. But, you know, we'll get to it maybe later in the show when I can talk about the defense a little, because this is the 3-4 switchover is a big deal. But individually, positionally speaking, they're coming along fine. They're doing fine, everybody. Don't freak out about it. I don't see
Chris?
The one minor one I think might be a little bit of a concern is corner, just because, I mean, Andrew Booth got a little bit, I don't know what the right term would be, but he's out there committing 2 15-yard penalties on one play and that kind of thing. I know that's part of the learning curve for him, and he's the physical guy. That's what he's kind of going to be. But yeah, the corner group is a little bit of a concern. I know Dantzler had some issues on Sunday. Booth had some issues on Sunday. Of course, Peterson wasn't out there, but that's the only one I could really think of. I was even impressed with the offensive line, which I'm sure we're going to get to here shortly, but other than corner, that's just about it, I think.
So yeah, let's talk about the offensive line. So on Sunday against the Raiders, Ed Ingram was probably arguably, I think he had either the first or second highest PFF grade for the Vikings, and I think he might have been the highest graded offensive lineman that PFF had in week 1. He had gotten he had gotten some work with the first team prior to the Raiders game. And now today, as we moved ahead to the joint practice with the San Francisco 49ers that were today, and then they've got another one tomorrow in preparation for their game Saturday, Ed Ingram started with the first team offensive line. And I think that's a big difference between starting with the first team offensive line in a scrimmage against another NFL team versus getting some work because Jesse Davis got a veterans rest day a week and a half ago. It feels to me like, Drew, this is now Ed Ingram's job to lose.
He passed Jesse Davis and he's not looking in his rearview mirror. He's the starter. Ed Ingram will be the starter, Ted.
I think so.
He's not worried about Jesse Davis or anybody else. I'm feeling good about the right guard position. I am. Not so much center, but the right guard, I'm feeling good about.
What about the rest of the line? When we'll talk about center in a minute, what about the rest of the line? You feeling okay with that?
Yeah, and for what I heard today, I mean, look at the stories coming out about Darisaw putting the stoppage on Bosa. I mean, come on, man. I'm hearing nothing but great things about the tackles, about the reserve interior guys, Cleveland. The Vikings offensive line is going to start to gel this year. I'm feeling good about it.
Chris, what about you? Do you agree that this is now Ed Ingram's job to lose at right guard?
Absolutely. I mean, we've been on this train for 2 or 3 weeks, and we were right, everybody. Just want to put that out there.
Highlights now.
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of, gnashing of teeth and rending of garments when the Ingram pick was made back in April because of the off-field stuff. But I have enough faith in the front office and the coaching staff where they wouldn't take a guy that they thought was a trash pile or anything like that. But he's going to be your starter, and he should be your starter, and he's just better than the other dudes that are out there at the position. And it's going to give him an opportunity to start to, like Drew said, Joe with Brian O'Neill next to him at tackle, and Joe with the rest of the offensive line. And he's going to be your starter unless he gets hurt between now and then, and hopefully that's not going to happen. So there you go.
Yeah, here, and somebody on Twitter asked me about cheering for Ingram and the stuff that happened when he was 16, I believe it was, and we talked about this when he was drafted on draft night and our post draft recap. And look, I've said my piece about Ed Ingram. At this point, it is what it is. The Vikings drafted him, so he's a member of the Vikings, and like Chris said, with the Vikings, hopefully they did their homework and that was an isolated incident or whatever. So yeah, I think Ingram, we have talked a lot about Wyatt Davis and what the hell's wrong with Wyatt Davis. Ed Ingram is becoming this year what I thought Wyatt Davis was going to do last year.
Look at the progress that Ed Ingram has made. He's been here since what, April, May?
Mm-hmm.
Look at what he's done. Wyatt Davis has been here a year and a half and hasn't done anything.
No.
I mean,
no,
Ted, you're exactly right. Wyatt Davis is going to get cut. And he's going to get cut, and it's going to be over with. And it's sad to see it because he's a talented individual.
Yeah.
But Ingram has just all right, put me in. That's how you do it.
Yeah. And how are we feeling about center? By most accounts, today was kind of a struggle for Garrett Bradbury again. I don't know. Do you think that the Vikes are going to do something, make a move to get a different guy?
Chris?
I mean, you're quickly approaching the point where it's going to be too late for you to really do anything of value. If you're going to do something and make a move to replace Garrett Bradbury, I know Chris Reed missed the game on Sunday. He sat out completely. I don't know if he's still dealing with an injury issue or something like that, but you're getting to the point where if you don't do something soon, it's not going to matter if you do anything, because the longer you wait, the less time you have to acclimate a new guy to the scheme, to his teammates, to get that chemistry that is so important on the offensive line. So if the Vikings are going to do something, they need to go ahead and do it sooner rather than later.
Is there a guy, Chris, that you think is out there that would be worth looking into for a trade, perhaps? I mean, we talked about how well Ty Chandler and no, he shall not be named.
Here we go.
We talked about how Wangu and how well Ty Chandler played. Alexander Madison was just okay. Do you see a scenario where they could trade a guy like Madison and maybe get a backup center that might be a bit of an upgrade over Garrett Bradbury? And any ideas who that would be? I mean,
I can't think of any names off the top of my head. I'm not as intimately familiar with the offensive line situations everywhere else as I am with Minnesota. But I absolutely think you could see a situation where the Vikings could trade somebody in a position where they have some depth, whether it's a wide receiver or running back, and get a guy that could potentially be a Mason Cole type of guy that they had last year that they plugged in when when Bradbury was out and Udo was out and other guys were out and came in, played well enough to get a decent contract from the Steelers in the offseason. So yeah, they traded a 6th-round pick, I believe, for Mason Cole last year. They could probably trade a running back or receiver and get somebody that could potentially fill that role again. Like I said, I just don't have any inklings off the top of my head which names you'd be looking at there.
Real quick, the next person that mentions the name J.C. Treader in the comments is going to get pistol whipped.
How is the comments doing? Who's in there tonight? Who's
got a whole bunch of people in there. We got the usual suspects.
We haven't even got to jump out to the comments tonight. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining Vikings Report.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
We're glad to be here.
We got a fair amount of people watching tonight. We got our usual gang of suspects. I see Anthony Tollison, Dan Hanneman, Purple Haze, Doc Proto, Raymond Hoagland.
Yeah.
Nick Howard. Whole bunch of folks joining in there tonight. Yeah, I just like Chris said, I think that the center, if they don't do something within the next right before this next game with San Francisco, then I think it is what it is, and we're going to deal with Bradbury for the season.
I think Chris Gates is exactly right, as he often is.
Yeah.
They're kind of waiting too long for this. All the way up till now, we're hearing they're going to work with him. You know, Brian Allen with the Rams, they worked with him. They made him better. Yeah, we play it off week after week after month after month. They're going to work with him. They're going to figure it out. Now their back's against the wall. Kevin O'Connell, he's right up to it. He can't. I mean, you got to have it figured out by at least preseason. Preseason game 2 is almost pushing it too far. He's your center. He's the center. He's a huge part of your offensive line. Yeah. And if Bradbury hasn't worked out, he's in a bind. O'Connell's in a bind. Now he's scrambling for somebody, and it's not like scrambling for somebody in March, Ted. It's different now.
Yeah, it is. Very much. So yeah, I've had this feeling all along that they're going to go with Bradbury and try and mask his weaknesses, which I don't think you can. I mean, when a dude gets, you know, incredible Hulk back into his quarterback 5 yards. Yeah, you can't technique that. You just can't.
Right.
So anyways, we'll see.
It's going to be interesting to track, though, to see what happens at that position, because that's an important position.
It is. He makes all the blocking adjustments at the line before the snap. Works with the quarterback to get those calls down. Yeah, if it doesn't happen by in the next couple of days, it's not going to happen.
Time has run out on waiting.
Yeah, I think so too. So with that, the Vikings had a joint practice, first of 2 joint practices today with the San Francisco 49ers. And like the big news, Drew, are you familiar with the term heel turn in professional wrestling?
I don't know about that, but I know I'm not wearing any pants. I'm not. I'm going full natural tonight to try to get a good feel for the show. You know what I mean? What is it called? What was it?
A heel turn, when a wrestler goes from a good guy to a bad guy, like Hulkamania Hulk Hogan to NWO Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Okay, yeah, I'm a little familiar with that.
All right. Well, let me tell you something, brother. Today, Kirk Cousins early on in the practice hit a long pass to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah,
and he dropped an F-bomb. He said, "You effing like that," really loud, to the point people in the stands heard it. And like new attitude NWO, Kirk Cousins is on the scene, boys and girls. And by God, King, he's cleaning house.
That's fantastic. I'm really glad to hear about that. That good for him. Good for him.
If Kirk Cousins comes out for the second preseason game sporting a goatee like evil Spock from Star Trek, dude, we are so in. I want Kirk Cousins at the podium cutting full-on promos after the game. I want the American Dream Kirk Cousins to go up there. Let me tell you something, Chris Thomason. Saturday night, U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota, we're going to get funky like a monkey. You know what I'm talking about. I need full-on evil heel turn Kirk Cousins at this point. Absolutely.
That's
Positively.
fantastic.
God, I would love that so much. I mean, and he comes out wearing all black, got a heater dangling out of the corner of his mouth, wrap around mirror sunglasses. Let's go. Little bandana on his head.
He's got the pot leaf t-shirt saying "Pimp Daddy" on it. Do it, do it. Just throw all caution to the wind and say, "I'm good." Have that attitude. That's what he needs. Kirk Cousins needs grit, and he needs a little "fu" attitude because that guy. Forget the nice guy. You tried that for 10 years. Let's get on exactly what Chris Gates just said, man. Let's go.
Let me tell you something, Tony Schiavone. Sunday night in the Omni in Atlanta.
Ted Glow, these people, they don't know nothing about no hard times. Let me tell you a little something about hard times, Ted Glow. Hard times is when a man goes out, throws 35 touchdown passes, and people say, we would rather have Case Keenum at quarterback than you that. That's hard times right there. Those are hard times, Daddy.
Stop it. Oh, my God. Oh, God, we're off the rails.
We are totally off of this, but that's what we do here. That's okay.
Oh, man.
That's it. We're done. Have a good night, folks. Oh, God.
We're done.
That was the best Dusty Rhodes impersonation I've ever heard in my life.
That's the greatest thing we've ever had on the show.
Oh, my God. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Oh, my God.
My whole original point to this.
God knows I got to contribute something. It could just as well be wrestling.
My whole original point to this was we talked about Kevin O'Connell being able to mentally flip that switch or help Kirk mentally flip that switch. Do you think maybe, and we talked about the dysfunction with the Vikings with Zimmer and Cousins and the tension there, and Zimmer and Spielman and the tension there. Do you think Kirk is actually kind of feeling his oats now and is ready to actually take over and take ownership of this team?
It really seems that way. I mean, he's got a coach that doesn't actively hate his guts anymore. Yeah. And that's huge. I mean, he's worked with O'Connell before. It was one season in Washington before he came to Minnesota. And, there's obviously something there. I mean, Kevin O'Connell, obviously, when he interviewed for the job, went into the front office and said, hey, I can lead this football team to victories with Kirk Cousins. That's why they gave Cousins the extra year extension and, didn't pursue anyone else in free agency or the draft. So he's obviously made the case that he thinks he could win with Kirk Cousins. And that's where we are right now. And I think that might be what's happening at this point.
Right.
Yeah, I can't get over the Dusty Rhodes impersonation. That's awesome. Anyway, beautiful. so Kirk,
I think it's beautiful.
And if he has taken that step, watch out, because everything coming out of this joint practice and training camp so far is for as good as Justin Jefferson has been his first 2 years in the NFL. He has taken it to another level and is pretty much unstoppable. And the way the Vikings are lining him up, there was one play they had that actually made it onto the Twitter feed. They actually lined Justin Jefferson up in the backfield, and they ran. It was like a Texas concept where everybody kind of clears out the middle, and the running back sort of does a little, not quite a wheel route into that void where there's a linebacker. Yeah. And Justin Jefferson was isolated on a linebacker, and that was free money. And if they're going to use Justin Jefferson like that in those kind of really cool concept type stuff, I just think he's going to get 2,000 yards receiving, Drew.
He's picking up that Cooper Kupp role. That's how Kupp was used.
Exactly.
Anywhere on the field. And I know he's got to be excited about that. I mean, I'm excited about. I'm not worried about the offense. I'm not, guys. I think the offense is ready. They're raring to go, and I think they got the system down. I think they know what they want to do, and which helps when you got guys that have played together. That's the difference in the offense and the defense. Defense, whole new scheme, bunch of guys that haven't played together, rookies. The offense is going to be fine, you guys. It's going to be fine. Barring injuries.
I think, we talked about that kind of in spite of Clint Kubiak last year, this Vikings offense was top 10.
Sure.
I think because of Kevin O'Connell and this new offense, they are going to be a top 5, and they're going to drop their. Well, I think they led the NFL in 3-and-outs last year, 3-and-out drives. I think they're going to drop that substantially this year. I'm just hearing everything, and then you everything else about Adam Thielen is still solid. KJ Osborne is. They're creating a lot of routes for him to get a lot of yards after catch, and everybody's saying he's going to be a yards after catch freak this year. He's just going to just pile up yardage. I'm really excited to see this full offense take the field just to see what they can do.
In terms of these joint practices with the Niners, Ted, there couldn't be a better team to have practices with than the Niners. These 2 joint practices and then the game on Saturday are going to help Donatel and the defense, the whole team, more than the whole offseason training camp has helped them.
I think so, yeah.
These 3, because the Niners are really stout in the trenches, offense, defense, right in the line of scrimmage. They're really physical. They're mean. They run well wide. They're a really good team to practice against. The only other team I can think of you could probably want to practice against is the Ravens, because the Ravens go full bore the whole. Maybe the Ravens, the Steelers, maybe those 2 teams, because they don't really hold back. But the Niners are a perfect team for Kevin O'Connell to be practicing against this week. I'm telling you. They're going to learn a ton this week with their running game, with everything involved. It's a perfect team to be practicing against.
Speaking of the Vikings defense, it looks like this. You talked about the 3-4 that Ed Donatel's implementing earlier, Drew. It looks like Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter, if they can stay healthy, are going to have monster years. Zadarius Smith kind of beat Trent Williams and had a really good day. Would have gotten a couple sacks. The secondary was inconsistent, I think. You heard Patrick Peterson, Cam Dantzler, and Caleb Evans' name both as good and bad. They gave up long touchdowns, but they had real nice pass breakups, really good in coverage at times. Is it fair to say this defense is going to be better but inconsistent? Chris?
I think so. I mean, I think you should probably expect that with the new scheme. I mean, it's one thing to see it in practice and whatnot, but yeah, I think another part of that is going to be a lot of the youth that the Vikings have in the secondary. I mean, we talked about Booth, we talked about Evans, Dantzler is still relatively young. I mean, the only real veteran presences they have in the secondary at this point are Patrick Peterson and Harrison Smith. And there's going to be a lot of growing pains with those younger guys. And, like you mentioned, Zadarius, Danielle Hunter, and even down to guys like DJ Wadham and Patrick Jones. It's going to depend a lot on what Donatel can do in order to get pressure on the quarterbacks to make things easier on the secondary a little bit, I think. But I think there's going to be some growing pains, but I think this defense is going to get good a lot quicker than a lot of people seem to expect them to.
What do you think, Drew? Are you on board with that, how are you feeling about this new defense so far?
Here's my thoughts on the defense, Ted and Chris. Donatel, first off, was the perfect guy to bring in here. If you're going to switch a scheme over completely from the 4-3 base to the 3-4, first off, you got to have the players to do it. You got to have a coach who knows how to. You're not going to bring in a guy in here for a defensive coordinator who's had 2 or 3 years experience and start a whole new scheme. This is a tough thing for Donatel, but he's the guy to take it on. It is a really difficult thing to do. And like I've said on many shows in the past, I don't see us fully grasping it for like 3 or 4 weeks into the regular season. I don't. It's a tough call for him to do because you get run guys out there, but if you don't know what you're doing, it's difficult. It's really, especially when we've got rookies. You're talking about a whole new scheme. It's a very difficult thing to do. Telling guys to be in position. You not only got to know your own role, you got to know what your teammates are doing. And something Donatel mentioned today that I didn't even think of, which is really cool. He said, the key to learning is availability. And Donatel said today, I want to give a shout out to the medical team and all the people who take care of the Vikings and the soft tissue problems and all, keeping them on the field. He said, if you don't have guys out there practicing, they don't learn.
Yeah.
Donatel said, I got all the guys out here. That's what it takes to learn. All the guys. If you're missing 8-10 people on defense, that slows down the learning process for the whole team. And I think that's important that you get all the guys out there. It's a learning process. It's going to go this week to next week to next. You're not going to walk in and have it all mastered. You got to teach guys all these positions. Donatel's, he's up against the wall, but I think he's the guy to do it. I think that's why Mensa brought him in here. Is he said, if we're going to switch schemes, we can't have a newbie in here.
Right.
We got to have a guy who knows what he's doing. And it's really a tough task. And it's a, you know what? If this team reaches where we want them to reach, my first hat goes off to Ed Donatel because he's got a tough job.
So now let's forward this to Saturday. The Vikings play their only home preseason game against the San Francisco 49ers. They've got one more joint practice tomorrow and then the game. Chris, what do you want to see from the Minnesota Vikings on offense and on defense on Saturday?
I want to continue to see if the offensive line continues to improve. I mean, Drew said it pretty right on that the Niners are physical on both sides of the ball, particularly up front. They've got guys like Bosa that make things difficult up front for offensive lines. And, you know, if you want to see some growth out of guys like Christian Darrisaw, Ezra Cleveland, and now if Ed Ingram is going to be your number one guy at right guard, as he probably should be, we want to see that offensive line continue to go up against guys or teams like the Niners that are going to be a little more physical, things difficult. So when they get into games that actually matter, you know, that they're ready to go and they've been, you know, facing that fire already. So that's the big thing on offense that I think I want to see on Saturday night.
Drew, what about you on offense?
Continuing to figure out the wide receiver core. Man, the number one thing has to be Kellen Mond. He checked all the boxes in week 1, Ted. Can he check them to week 2?
Okay.
He's got to keep progressing. He's got to keep getting better. So it's probably Mond and then the wide receiver core.
What about on defense?
All the guys, if they're learning their positions, it's one more step into, you know, Asamoah out there and Booth out there. Are you learning where you're supposed to be? The safeties with Scene and Bynum, they need to talk amongst themselves. It's basically all the defenders, first, second, third string, learning the system. It's about learning the system right now. That's what it's about.
What about on defense, Chris?
Yeah, that's a pretty solid answer. I mean, like we've said, they're making the adjustment to the 3-4, and you know, for some of the guys that have been in the Zimmer scheme for a while, like a Harrison Smith or like a Daniil Hunter, if either of those guys even play on Saturday, neither of them played on Sunday against the Raiders. But yeah, you just want to see how the transition from the 4-3 to the 3-4 is continuing to go for a lot of the guys on defense. And you know, once again, we're looking at the younger guys on defense. We're looking at the Cameron Bynums, the Jalen Twymans, the Andrew Booth, Brian Asamoah, guys like that, just to see how they're continuing to develop from one week to the next, you know, having to play games in consecutive weeks, even if they are just exhibition games. And yeah, seeing how the transition to the 3-4 is continuing to go.
I want to see the starters play on both offense and defense, at least one series. Hearing a lot of great reports of the defense against San Francisco. I'd like to see them play at least one or two series. Same for the first team offense. I'd like to see that whole unit play together. But like you guys, I'm looking at running back Ty Chandler, Kane Wangu again. Can one of those guys separate themselves? And if they do, does that make a guy like Alexander Madison potentially trade bait for interior offensive line help for Garrett Bradbury? I don't know. The back end of the wide receivers, Tristan Jackson, Myron Mitchell, Albert. God, I lost these dudes' names. Albert Wilson, BC Johnson, Naylor. Which one of can one of those guys make a play? Will we get separation there? And on defense, I want to see Lewis Cine continue to progress. I'd like to see some consistency in Andrew Booth I'd like to see Caleb Evans see the field a little bit more. Again, just like you guys have said, that natural progression, getting better as we get towards the regular season.
Can I throw a trade scenario at you guys?
Sure.
As we're getting close to the end of the show, and I forgot to do it earlier. Okay. I got Indianapolis is on the phone. Jonathan Taylor has torn his ACL the last week before practice.
Ooh.
He's not ACL, PCL, LCL, ACA, whatever. He's gone for the year. The Colts are calling. They want Dalvin Cook.
Ooh.
And they are willing to give you a first round pick and a fifth round pick. Conditionally, the fifth rounder, if the Colts win one playoff game, the fifth rounder becomes a third rounder. That is their trade offer.
No offensive lineman, just a first and a third rounder? Well, first, a conditional fifth?
Yeah, if they make the playoffs, it goes to a third. Not they win the game. If they make the playoffs, it goes to a third. So you're potentially getting a first and a third for Dalvin Cook.
No.
That is one that I had not pondered. But yeah, I don't think I could do it.
I don't think I would. Look, I think Ty Chandler and Wangu and Madison are good backs, but this offense is going to hum with Dalvin Cook. I firmly believe that this offense is going to hum with Dalvin Cook. I don't think he's going to be the focal point like he was in previous seasons, but he's one of those guys that you have to account for if you're a defensive coordinator, and he just makes everything harder to defend because he's a special guy when he has the football.
Okay. I like throwing these things out here to get your guys' takes on it, because you guys have good football knowledge. So
would you do it, dude?
I would do it.
You would?
Yes. Because I don't think Cook has many years left.
Okay.
I'm always looking to the future. I like that extra first round pick. I like what I got with Wangwu and Chandler. If I have to go committee this year, I go committee this year. I am looking to build, baby. I'm looking to build, and I think the Colts are a playoff team. So it looks like I'm getting a first and a third, and I can add to what I got going right now. All that being said, I love Dalvin Cook. I do love Dalvin Cook, and I think he's a difference maker, and everything you just said makes sense, but I would do that trade.
Wow. Okay. All right. So I think with that, Ruby, if you're there, do you want to pull up the wheel and we will spin the wheel of destiny to see who wins the Vikings report with Drew and Ted coffee mug?
That seems like a good name, the Wheel of Destiny. I like that.
All right. Let me get it going.
Hey, hang on. Chris, give us a Dusty Rhodes promo for the Wheel of Destiny.
No. The guy from the damn van down by the river. Down by the river. What? How many shows I got to wait to hear the Down by the River thing?
Drew, sometimes I wish you'd just shut your big yapper. All right.
Thank you.
I do what I can.
Fire tonight. You're on fire tonight, Chris.
Yeah.
All right.
Here we
you guys
go.
ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Here we go.
I love this wheel. I love it. We even got the noise of the clicking. There we go.
Ooh, excuse me.
Who's winning tonight?
Stephen Hill's gin.
Stephen Hill's gin.
Congratulations, man. Steven, get a hold of Ruby at the following email address, Vikings report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com.
Here's your mug.
Vikings report with Drew and Ted
Congratulations.
at gmail.com. We'll send you a mug. It's kind of like a puzzle. We'll send it to you and you put it together. And it's only like 6 pieces. It's awesome. And it probably won't leak if you use super glue.
Ted Glover.
All right.
Now here it is. Here's Stephen Hilton. Here's what you're winning.
Awesome. Congratulations, Stephen. Make sure you get a hold of Ruby. We'll get that coffee mug sent your way. Look, I had a blast again tonight, like I always do with you two clowns. Really enjoyed myself. Drew, you got any last parting words before we say goodnight?
No, I just wish we had more shows because I have so much fun with you guys.
Yeah, that's a good time.
What are we doing next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, 7 p.m. we'll be on.
I got 1,100 emails yesterday about the studio show. If we were giving it up, actually, it was only 2. But you need to let the people know, Ted, that we are not giving up the studio shows. Football and a movie, all that. Yeah. People are saying, I haven't seen you guys for 2 weeks. So let them know we are coming back.
We are. We're coming back. We'll be back in the studio for week 1 of the regular season. The studio show will air Friday, September 9th, in time for the September 11th week 1 matchup against Green Bay. Chris, you got any last words of wisdom?
No, I think we pretty well covered everything. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch the Vikings take on the Niners, and ultimately get to the end of the preseason and see what the roster makeup is going to look like. And it's always fun doing this with guys. I enjoy the hell out of it every time we do it. And we've got a couple more preseason games to go, and we'll see what happens.
25 days.
Yeah,
the most important thing is coming out healthy. Nothing else matters at this point.
No injuries. That's all that matters. Don't care what the score is. Like to see some guys do well. Keep looking at that progression, but the big thing is no injuries. So
25 days. That's crazy. We kick off against the team from Wisconsin. That's great. So for Ruby, so for Drew, for Chris, I'm your humble host, Ted. We will see you next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, live. Again, our studio show returns on September 9th. Until next Wednesday, we will see you guys.